Oh, well, I guess you don't get to see my beautiful face because the stream is not working. So, I guess the only way this is going to happen is if you just listen to my beautiful voice. And I want you to close your eyes and visualize probably something akin to Fabio, probably something akin to imagine Sadhguru with Fabio hair. That's what I look like now. I have a lion's mane on top of my head and coming out of my chin and cheeks. My hair is golden, both the beard and the flowing locks from my head. Um, so that's what I look like now. Maybe I can, because I don't have Cam tonight, maybe we can find a nice, beautiful indigenous person, such as we see here, a diverse sort of person. Perhaps a Fabio look-alike with beard. Perhaps we could find, because you guys need to know who you're listening to. You can't just, that's not what I look like. I don't find a nice Fabio with a beard. Over the weekend, I did grow my beard out. It looks, let's see. I wish could we mix, remember those apps where you could mix faces? Fabio mixed with Sadhguru. That's basically what I look like right now. Let's just put up a picture of a guru here. Let's put this happy looking guru man up. That's me right now. Except that I have, again, probably about 86% more Fabio and about 30% of Sadhguru. So hopefully that'll clear up a lot of the mystery going on out there. You know, what do I look like? Who's talking? Who talking? So I'll put this little photo down here in the corner for you guys so you guys know that this is me. If you feel the need to reach out, touch the screen, go ahead, do so. If you feel the need to, reminds me of, speaking of Sadhguru, I was talking to Tristan today. Y'all might have heard him, Tristana. And, much like myself, many of you know I do conduct live streams, Q&As, oftentimes from the bathtub. Well, it turns out I called Tristana on Skype, and she just happened to be in the bathroom. We had a nice little conversation, and basically, I think he was meditating. And he told me he went to the potty in the bathtub. And I said, well, he had learned that from a guru because he was trying to create his own little river Ganges in his tub. And that's very spiritual. So basically, it's a hot shit soup that's mystical and natural, and that's what the gurus are going to tell you. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? There we go. Pay piggy. Ooh! I don't know why we can't get on a live stream with all the money I pay to internets. What I want, what I'm paying for. I'm getting that DeMarcus Zuckerberg discount internet. That's what I'm getting, but that's not what I paid for. All right, but that's not what you paid for. You didn't pay for dumb jokes. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't know what you were going to get when you came over here. You thought you were going to get boring lectures. You thought you were going to get Ben Stein talking to the class about chemistry, talking about fractions. Did you want me to do your times tables for you? Is that what you expected? Or did you expect clowning. We were clowning. I mean, I was going to try to tell y'all my story. It didn't really fit with gurus, but, you know, I got to meet old Theandris Vaughn, old Theo Vaughn in person. Y'all see that picture, right? It was surreal, dude. So we were in there, you know, we had to watch some opener comedians, right? And I'm not trying to be mean. I appreciate the willingness that people have to, you know, get up there and try hard, and, you know, everybody gets a certificate of great achievements and all that. But, you know, some of these people were not very good, to say the least. And so I kind of felt sorry for them, but I did a thing making fun of women comedians. I need to do one making fun of dude comedians too, because a lot of the dude comedians are the same. Anyway, we're sitting there. It was packed in, man. Zanies in Nashville was just packed. And then so we're waiting. And finally Theo Vaughn comes out, and dude, in person, it's hard to explain the experience of seeing his mullet in person, because you see him in pictures, but it's like I thought it was Patrick Swayze coming out for a second, dude. You think, what, is that Patrick Swayze? For literally like 3 seconds. And then you're like, no, that's actually Theo Vaughn. Because a lot of times you see like a picture like this, he's got a hat on, right? You see that hat. And you can't really see. It's like a lion's mane, dude. And people were talking about this picture all over the internet. All over. It went viral. People were talking about this. How are you raptor clawing 2 water bottles? They were like, look at, he's got Anunnaki hands. People were saying he's not human. There's something Anunnaki going on with him. Nephilim hands. No, man, it's just 2 little water bottles. What are you even talking about? It's not hard to hold 2 water bottles. Anyway, it was a trip, dude. But it was cool. He was really funny, really nice, and hung out and talked with people afterwards. So that was just really cool. Anyway, so I had to tell you about that beautiful experience before we get into the gurus. Now, we got a couple things we're going to talk about. I'm going to mention some of the books, but this is kind of to kick off a little bit of a series with your boy Theo Vaughn over there. You got your boy, I used to go to high school with a dude named Tyson. Your boy Tyson over there. And you know, your boy Tyson, he was real small. Anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah, by the way, hopefully that'd be really cool if I was ever, I don't know if he'll ever have me on. I didn't really say, hey dude, have me on your podcast, but, I did get his email, so, you know, maybe I'll send him an email and something will happen. I don't know. But, you know, it's you know, there's tiers to stuff. You know, I'm not at that 2 million people tier, so probably wouldn't make sense for him to have me on. But if he did ask me to be on, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd be a little nervous. I don't really get nervous except like when I first meet somebody that's pretty famous. Then I get a little nervous. I'm like, because then you're like, what do you say to this person? Because you what flashes through your head is, should I say something like, oh, I thought you were funny tonight? And then you think, well, every retard has already told him that tonight. And then you think, well, should I say something about, hey, I have a podcast? But then you think, well, every other retard's like, oh, come on my podcast. I got 30 listeners. Right? But then you're like, no, I shouldn't talk about anything. And then you just start sitting there thinking about what to say, and you don't say anything. So I was just like, hey, dude, what's up? That was fun. Hey, what do you think about Eddie Bravo? He's that dude's crazy. Eddie Bravo's crazy, dude. I was like, yeah, he is. He's like, you know him? I was like, yeah, we did a podcast. Oh, for real? He got something wrong with him, man. He got something wrong with him. I mean, he was joking, but and I talked about Sam Tripoli a little bit. Anyway, that was just a crazy event, you know, a couple days ago. So I'm still kind of reeling. I don't have the hiccups. The stream is not working right. I don't know what to do other than to just not have, we could just do it audio. Is the audio working? Can y'all hear me? It keeps buffering. I'm not sure what I could do to make it not buffer any more than it does. Got them Nephilim hands. Oh, so it's just way behind. So it's like, it's still doing, it's just taking it a while to spit it out to you. Yes, I'm live. What are you talking about? It says live, dude. What do you mean? What's a live stream? Is this a live stream? Sounds like Dr. Phil. Is this a live stream? Do you think that the internet does live streams to you, directly to your mind? I'd like to help you. Anyway, I'm kind of just talking smack because I'm waiting to see if the internet's working. This guy's a fraud. Why? How am I a fraud? Why? Invite these people to come speak. Who is Theo Vaughn? Really? Anyway. Is the sound coming through, though? Can you hear me okay? Or is it? I think it's just behind. Me, I'm going to hit y'all super chats in a minute. I want to know how I'm a fraud. I love it when these people come to, he's a fraud. Anyway, let's get into the 10-point plan. Now, where did I come up with this? So this is going to kick off a new couple of series. I think somebody's talking about Sadhguru is a fraud. That's not actually me. If you didn't know that, that is Sadhgurus. What we are going to talk about is the origins of the New Age movement, and then how the New Age movement kind of took off and it had a lot of effect, but also kind of didn't do exactly what they wanted to do, but it had enough of effect that it kind of put us, after the 60s countercultural revolution, into a new era. And ultimately it did a lot to change culture, but it didn't bring on a full-on New Age movement. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't take over, but it did have a lot of effect, and it did kind of alter the landscape of the American religious sphere, so to speak. It did change culture. Thank you there, Maddie. I do a lot of impressions. Richard Grove messaged me the other day, said, hey, do a course on impressions. And I was thinking, can you really? That's an interesting idea, but can you really teach impressions? I don't know. I'd never thought about that. But that would be interesting if that ever happened. So we were talking about, I forgot my note cards. Hey, Jamie, could you bring me my 2 note cards on New Age and Gurus? I left them in there. I always forget my note cards. So we were talking about, by the way, he was really funny in person. He told, my favorite thing about Theo Vaughn is just his crazy stories, right? Like, I could just listen to the crazy stories. I'd rather hear him tell crazy stories than do interviews. Yes, thank you. I need those too. Appreciate that. And so he had all kinds of crazy stories in his routine that were just really fun. He was edgy too. Like, in person, he's a little more edgy, Can you close that door? Oh. It's your boy Darius over there, your boy Darius. What were we talking about? Your boy Darius Rucker. Do the whole stream as Dr. Phil. I get that request all the time. Do the whole stream as Nick Cage. Do the whole stream as Dr. Phil. Do the whole stream as... That would be difficult to do. Oh my gosh, here we go. Yes, thank you, Jethro. Thank you to the mods, by the way, for fighting them bots. But so I keep wanting to tell stories, and I keep forgetting about that we're here to talk about gurus. Jamie, one last thing. I'm sorry. All right, back. Now I got some books too that will be good to demonstrate everything we're talking about tonight, as well as to refute everything we're going to be talking about tonight. So we got a little bit of both. But let's get into it because I'm telling stories. So the origins of the New Age, of course, the first thing that I can really trace it to is the discussion in, and I don't recommend him as an author or researcher because he's pretty much disinformation. However, there's a lot of details that you can find in his works that I've not seen in other places. And if it's sourced, then it's not that big of a deal, even if he's a sort of a spin doctor, disinformation person. But Malachi Martin had a good chapter in the book Keys of This Blood, where he went into the origins of ecumenism in the New Age movement, right? So the New Age movement, you got this dude that showed up at the World's Fair, and he was some weird name guy, I don't remember his name, Swami somebody, in the 1890s when they had the World's Fair. And this guru started preaching to that the West needed to be converted to his sort of Swami theology, right? To his Indian theology or whatever, mysticism. And this caught the ear of some of the wealthy people at the World's Fair, particularly by some turn of events, the Rockefellers heard of this guy. And so it was decided that this ideology might be a good vehicle to promote ecumenism. And of course, the Rockefeller family, as we saw in their own authorized biography, in an entire chapter, has a whole thing where they brag about basically creating, funding, promoting, and taking over the American religious sphere through the ecumenist movement, which was born out of this idea of New Age stuff. So that's the real origins of New Age, according to the whole chapter in Collier and Horowitz. And then you compare that with the chapter in Malachi Martin's book, Keys of This Blood, and you get an insight into how the elite wanted to really promote that. And also the David Wimhoff book. It doesn't really go into New Age, but it does go into money behind the ecumenist movement as well. So there's three sources that will really help kind of put some of those pieces together. So we know that from the outset of the ecumenist movement with the early Chicago World Fair, that there was an intention to promote it. And at the same time, we get a couple figures that I'm sure everybody has probably heard of. Right around that time, Madame Blavatsky and your boy Alice Bailey. I should say your boy Madame Blavatsky, right? But now everybody knows about probably Madame Blavatsky to a degree, but less known is one of their other sort of theosophy cohorts is Alice Bailey. So we're going to look a little bit of Alice Bailey before we look at her works, because we're going to see that she's the one that really has this 10-point plan that clearly became a sort of model for the power elite and for the UN. Because as if you don't know, the publisher of Blavatsky and Bailey's books was originally called Lucifer Publishing. Yes, can't make that up. Lucifer Publishing. Did you put new coffee in there? It's not recycled coffee. Now that was a little too open sourced, I guess you could say, a little too much. So they changed it to Lucis Trust Publishing. So this still exists. It is not a made up thing. This is old school conspiracy, right? This is the kind of conspiracy stuff that you probably come across back in the Google video days, right? Here you can see the famously United Nations supported, funded, and affiliated Lucis Trust. Not making that up. You can see what they have there. It's connected to World Goodwill. So if you're going to get your stank ass hipster millennial shirts at the Goodwill, you're supporting sorceresses like Alice Bailey, and they like arcane schools and triangles. So they load the triangles over there. And you can see all of their stuff. And this gets into the spiritual hierarchy. Great invocation. Again, this is some of the first conspiratorial material that I ever read, right? Was this kind of stuff. Wait a minute. The United Nations is what? Promoting Lucifer Publishing? What? But as we'll see, they have a secret esoteric meaning. And here you go. Like, they chose Alice over Blavatsky. So, like, Alice Bailey is, like, their main chick, right? But let's look at the esoteric meaning of Lucifer first. Because, of course, they're going to give it a different name. Now, here's up from their website. You'll see what I'm saying. There are comments on the web claiming that Lucifer was once called Lucifer Trust. That is not the case. Oh, really? They named their fledgling company Lucifer Publishing. Oh, okay. So it wasn't Lucifer Trust. Oh, it was Lucifer Publishing. Oh, cool. My bad. Okay. Right. So, both of them come from the same word. And it just means light, dude. We can only surmise that they, like the great teacher, Blavatsky, for whom they had enormous respect, sought a deeper understanding of the sacrifice made by Lucifer. Wait a minute. So is it not? Hold on. Is it about Lucifer or not? Because I thought you said it's not. Oh, but actually it is. That's gaslighting, right? Or lying. Gaslighting. And then it goes on to say that for Alice and Foster Bailey, they were serious students and teachers of theosophy, a spiritual tradition which views Lucifer as one of the solar angels, an advanced being. The theosophy says descended from the fall from Venus to our planet to bring the principle of mind to what was then animal man. So Lucifer is the light bearer who brings consciousness and self-awareness, according to these people. So you see that, it was not a fall into sin, but a great sacrifice. So the entire story of Lucifer is reinterpreted in a kind of, similar to the way that Mason's light bearer, he's not an evil fallen angel. He brings enlightenment. He brings, this kind of stuff. And again, you can see that there, it's amazing. It's because it's been there for forever too. Like this is conspiracy stuff that you would see like in the late 90s, dude. And so, not the greatest attempt at explaining away there, right? Sadhguru's getting on my nerves there. I'm going to find a different guru avatar. Anyway. So there you see that's all the case. None of that's made up. Did I show the United Nations? Yes. So you do see the United Nations connections too, right? So they're avidly promoted by the UN. It's a big, see, it's right here, World Goodwill. And there's probably other United Nations stuff on here too, but you can go find that on your own when you're interested. Now, if we look over here at her, we notice that her interests were neo-theosophical systems. All right, now, if you don't know about theosophy and Rudolf Steiner and his anthroposophy, these are basically just cults or the origins of the New Age out of the idea of channeling from ascended Tibetan masters. Okay, that's about it. That's all you really need to know. And it's kind of a mix of, as is always the case, kind of a smorgasbord, right? So, as you could tell from the term itself, it's theological philosophy, hence theosophy, right? And they also wanted to combine it into something kind of scientific. They wanted to give it an air of, scientism. You'll notice too that they utilize the SWASTIKA, the Ouroboros. I mean, they got everything up in it, right? There is no religion higher than truth. And again, this descends from Blavatsky, Besant, Ledbetter, and of course they also would be, Ledbetter would have Crowleyan type philosophy as well. And the idea is that, we're going to tap into the astral plane. We're going to use our mind powers and our clairvoyance, and then we'll find out who the great world teacher is. And so this led a lot of conspiracy theorists in the 90s and the 2000s to literally think that this was like preparing the way for the Antichrist. Now, I mean, maybe down the road, but, a lot of evangelicals really went gaga over this. Oh, this is the end of the world. This is it. We found Antichrist. And they were a bunch of idiots. And no, it wasn't Antichrist. But it's definitely Antichrist spirit. And they were promoting Krishnamurti to be the vehicle of the coming world teacher. And a new Catholicism as the liberal Catholic Church. Now, the liberal Catholic Church, if I recall, ties into a lot of these sort of wandering bishops, old Catholicism, Sedevacantists, and even Crowleyans. So when you get into this type of stuff, you start to realize these are people that are this is straight up satanic stuff, right? This eventually led to the idea, and I have his book here with me. We're going to look at this. No, I don't have it. I have the other guy's book. One of these New Agers, Benjamin Krim, right? He was saying, the new world teacher will be called Maitreya. And then there's another dude named David Spangler who talked about the Christ consciousness. Now, Benjamin Krim is interesting because although he was clearly a total con man, New Ager guru guy, he gave, I think, $10,000 to Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa accepted his $10,000 reward. Excuse me? What? I mean, that's probably one of the best. No, excuse me. It's not Benjamin Krim. It's the other guy. John. I get all these New Agers mixed up because they're all kind of the same. What is that dude's name? Now, there's a point to this. You're going to see why I'm saying this. That I just remembered this. So that the point of today's discussion is not Mother Teresa, but what is that dude's name? John. It's like two first names smushed together. It's really dumb. John Roger. Is that it? John Roger. That's it. Is that it? Yes. There you go. So here is another New Age cult leader, John Roger, chilling with and talking about spiritual techniques with Mother Teresa. You can go watch that video if you want to, but and so you know that I'm not making this up. John Roger was the founder of MSIA, which what it stands for, Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, right? Obviously some stupid new made up new age thing. And here he is, you know, doing his thing. But look, check this out. Mother Teresa. So who would he have come speak at his events? Stevie Wonder, Mother Teresa, Ralph Nader. How's that for a lineup? And Jonas Salk. Whoa, dude. Oh, well, what do you know? When you search this, look whose Twitter you get. Oh, you get mine. She took, I think, $10,000 from John Roger. So here it is. Here's her meeting with and getting an award from John Roger. I'm trying to find the article that talks about her getting the money. Anyway, but this was actually something that Hitchens brought up, right? Because remember, a lot of people got mad at Hitchens for calling out Mother Teresa, but one of the things he mentioned was this, and he was like, "Hey, why is Mother Teresa, you know, getting money from this like quack New Age cult dude, right?" But by the way, she also gave interviews in Time Magazine where she said not to convert people. She said, I want to make the Buddhists a better Buddhist. I don't want to make the Buddhists into a Christian. So that's why she's one of the archetypal saints of the Vatican II church, right? Because, I mean, that's fits with the Vatican II religion. Anyway, but just to give you a couple other figures who are very similar, right? Who had this idea that the world teacher would come through the Aquarian age, and this is what is going to kick off the New Age, because Blavatsky, Bailey, Ledbetter, all these people who then birthed this next generation of these people, like Benjamin Creme and David Spangler, they were all saying that the New Age was coming and there would be the great world teacher. And the world teacher would come via either Maitreya, or it would be David Spangler. It would be the Christ consciousness. That was his whole thing. And through meditation and, you know, mystic practices, the Maitreya would come, right? The new world teacher, the new avatar. So in Theosophy, Maitreya is an advanced spiritual entity, a member of the spiritual hierarchy of the masters of the ancient, the ascended masters. Okay, so this is purportedly some kind of spiritual entity council that lives in the Himalayas. I'm not joking. One of these entities is named the Jwal Kul, and that is who Bailey telepathically channeled in her mystical research to write down all her gigantic volumes, because she's got like a whole library of works, right? She's got like 10 volumes. And I don't know how much of it, but a lot of it is the channeling telepathically of Jwal Kul. Now, who is this? Okay. This, I'm not joking. This is the straight up origins of the New Age movement, like 100%. Tibetan disciple of the ageless wisdom of the esoteric tradition, described as a member of the spiritual hierarchy, the brotherhood of the Mahatmas, the masters of the ancient wisdom, defined as a spiritual guide of ancient wisdom, cosmological, metaphysical, and esoteric principles that form the origin of all the world's philosophies, the mythologies, and the spiritual traditions. According to Theosophy, Jwal Kul is said to be the Jwal Kul. Cool Runnings. Jwal Kul Runnings is said to work on furthering the spiritual evolution of our planet through the 24 volumes of Bailey's Esoteric Teachings, published by Lucifer Trust. So this is actually the real esoteric philosophy of the UN. So that, I mean, the UN sells and promotes these books. Now, keep in mind, it's not just Alice Bailey. There's also Annie Besant. There's also Ledbetter. And these people tie directly into Crowleyanism. Keep that in mind, too. Half these people I've never heard of, but... So another one of the key figures in the in this movement, you'll notice how she was ahead of her time. British socialist, theosophist, women's rights, obviously feminist, champion of human freedom. What does that mean? National Secular Society. But wait a minute. Why is she a rabid secularist if she's and also a Marxist social democrat, but also a occultist? By the way, you'll notice a lot of times really hardcore committed Marxist socialists very often are Satanists. And usually it's at the higher levels. Quite a few of those. And if they're not Satanists, they're very much into these kinds of esoteric philosophies, right? They want to channel entities. They want to mix all the religions. And so that's her. And by the way, they always have this weird kind of race worship thing going on too, right? So they have this idea. They always incorporate weird Darwinian philosophies like root races, which is just totally made up, right? And this is supposed to be stages in human evolution, and they have these like huge stories. Oh, the real history of the world is the ancient, Lemurians, and then there was the ancient Atlantean civilization, and this is all through Blavatsky's works, right? Like she ties in all this, as you can see here, Rudolf Steiner. Look, Atlantis and Lemuria, it's all just made up, right? I hate to break it to you, but they do not have some secret access to real world history. And you'll notice here, this right here, this becomes the basis for Tiny Mustache Man made up philosophy too, right? Because Tiny Mustache Man, aka Charlie Chaplin, right, his philosophy was created by Alfred Rosenberg, who presumably borrowed from a lot of this jibber jabber. And I'm sorry, but this is made up. Now, there could be an Atlantis. Sure. I mean, Plato talks about it. But it's not from these quacks. Now, let's see. I don't care about her. Let's see. Ledbetter is the one. I'm pretty sure he ties into Crowleyan stuff. So let's see about him. So he, together with Wedgwood, founder of the Liberal Catholic Church, shocker, they come out of Anglicanism. He helped her write Secret Doctrine, I guess, or he wrote Secret Doctrine with her. He worked with her on it. I know he has a Crowleyan connection. I'm trying to remember what it is. Does anybody in the chat remember the connection between Ledbetter and maybe Golden Dawn? Not Crowley, but maybe just Golden Dawn. No. What am I thinking of? Does anybody in the chat recall? The chat's way behind, but recall the connection between Charles Ledbetter and Golden Dawn or Crowley? Because, by the way, a lot of the people that we're talking about overlap with Golden Dawn, and that's why a lot of people will also credit Crowley for having an influence on the New Age as well. So really, it's Blavatsky, Bailey, Crowley, who are key figures in the actual New Age movement. Yes. Okay. So Crowley liked Blavatsky, but apparently hated Ledbetter. And that was because there were fights over the rulership of the Theosophical Society after Olcott and Blavatsky passed away. But really, what the big secret that you find out is these people are all just a bunch of coomers. And as Jamie says, they were trying to create commune. Not a commune, but a commune. And anyway, so let's get back to main point here. Heads of the Masters of the Ancient Wisdom are enlightened beings. This is who they thought they were tapping into. The idea is that the enlightened beings teach the world teachers. So in other words, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, right? All of the famous world religions are just learning from tapping into the ascended masters, right? That's the idea here. And so what Theosophy aimed to do was create a grand philosophical narrative of all the world religions. Again, something that prior to Theosophy, Freemasonry also kind of tried to do. But you'll notice that over here, that's kind of what you'll the key to Theosophy, secret doctrines, voice of silence, Isis unveiled, right? These are all theosophical texts. And I was looking for one other. Anyway, let's get back to Alice Bailey. So she thinks she's getting all of her teachings, which for whatever reason the UN seems to have really latched onto, or Lucis Trust has really latched onto, that, it comes through the channeling of Jwal Cool. Can we see what this dude looks like? I want to get an image of this dude. I mean, is he a beautiful boy? Is he a slow boy? Is he he's a handsome Asian man. Jwal Cool is he's just cool, man. It's a handsome Asian man. A handsome Tibetan Lama up there. There we get this key concept from her Meditations, the Age of Aquarius. Like that boomer rock song. This is the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. This is not what I wanted. What the heck is this? Anyway, the Age of Aquarius, of course, is the idea that there's a global shift, astrological age, right? So the Pisces age is the age of Christianity. But now we're going to enter into the age of Aquarius, which that's not the right. And why did all the boomer hippies think that it would be the age of Aquarius? So this was made popular with the 1967 rock musical Hair. That's the song I was talking about. And supposedly there's these astrological vernal equinox passings that every 2,160 years take us into a new aeon. And this is where you hear the Satanists and the Gnostics talk about aeon, right? So this is where it's coming from. And the idea is that when we pass out of the aeon of Pisces, we'll move into this new aeon of what different occultists and Satanists, right? They all give it different names. So, for example, Crowley called it the aeon of Horus, the crown and conquering child. And so this age would be characterized by narcissism, infantilism, selfishness, and vanity and obsession with youth. That would be the aeon of Horus, the aeon of the crown and conquering child. The other New Agers all kind of have similar ideas. They just give it different kind of emphases. So the age of Aquarius is associated with electricity, computers, democracy, freedom, idealism, modernization, according to the New Agers, right? Nervous disorders, what? That's an odd one. Rebellion, nonconformity, veracity, perseverance, blah, blah, blah. Now, again, it's all kind of like arbitrary, right? There's not really some astrological transition. So we'll see. Rudolf Steiner, formerly Theosophist, who then created his own thing called anthroposophy, said that age of Aquarius comes in the year 3573. So he's way off. Return of Christ. I mean, it's just so bizarre that they like, why are they mixing all the religions? Like, what? How is Jesus going to return when it doesn't even make sense, given the fact that you're also talking about the incarnation of Ahriman, Zoroaster's destructive spirit, and you think that, like, there's all these world teachers, right? I mean, Christianity can't be true and also not true, right? It doesn't make any sense. Contradiction. Christ can't be the way, the truth, and the life. Oh, and by the way, he's just one way, right? This makes no sense. So either Christianity is true or it's false. That's the point. But these people, in a very subtle, sort of clever way, try to give the impression of like, oh, I accept Christianity and everything else is not Christianity too, bro. As if that's right. This sort of superior, more enlightened position, when it doesn't make any sense. It's contradiction. Anyway, so this is where we get the idea of, as you can see, the age of Aquarius into the New Age movement. The 60s and 70s, 1967 musical Hair uses this famous song, when the moon is in the 7th house of Jupiter, aligning with Mars, and then the peace will guide the planets, and the love will steal the stars. It's like that. If you've not heard it, go heard it. Go click that up and heard it. If you would, of course, hit like and share. Don't pay attention to the numbers. That's not accurate, because whenever the live stream is not getting a consistent feed, the live numbers are not accurate. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It was what it was. So there's only enough upload speed to do audio. So what else can I do? Now, yeah, Dwal Cool, he just one of them crazy rich Asians up there. He's just up there floating, meditating. He's just sending that Chinese sun energy. Actually, he's not Chinese though. I don't know what he is. Mongolian? What up in the Himalayas? What is that? Mongolians, I guess. If you would hit like and share. And then the internet just cut out. This is unbelievable. Now, interesting little tidbit here. Alice Bailey was originally an evangelical. And we'll notice that a lot of these really hardcore occultist types, they start out as goofy evangelicals, and then they just kind of go crazy. And we see that with Crowley too. Remember, Crowley was raised in Plymouth Brethren, and I guess them strictures and the weirdness of that dispensational goofy cult, which is kind of a weird, it's like a puritanical dispensationalism with the Scofield Bible and all that. Well, then he rebels against that by going into the Golden Dawn and becoming, he wants to be the most evil man because he was repressed in his goofy evangelical cult. And it looks like the same thing with Alice Bailey. She worked with YMCA, British Army. Now, one thing that's interesting too is to consider the possibility of both. I don't know for sure with Bailey, but there are quite a few people who argue that Madame Blavatsky might have also been a British spy, and that is not unheard of due to the fact that multiple occultists, British occultists and whatnot, were also in fact spies, right? We've seen that Dr. Richard Spence, we did an interview with him. His book is on Crowley's time as an MI5 asset. So not unheard of. Also keep in mind that Mark Hacker did an excellent essay on the link. Look at this. Was that New York Times? No. I don't know what this website is, but let's see what they say. Wondrium Daily. Great. I don't know what this. Oh, here's Richard Spence. Here's Dr. Spence, who we interviewed. The link of Theosophy intelligence agencies. Now, why would this be the case? Well, because the cover of, I'm just going over here to Tibet to meditate, bro. I'm just trying to meet some, skinny little dudes up in the mountains, man. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find my godhood, bro. Why are you trying to step up on me? I'm just up in the mountains trying to find my godness. Or are you on a spy mission? See what I'm saying? Are you there to meditate? Are you an 1800s boomer up there to meditate, find your inner God? Or are you on a mission for the Queen? Are you on Her Majesty's Secret Service? And in fact, one of the czar's spies did this very thing. I'm trying to remember the name of that article. Mark has an article on this, where one of the czar's spies went up to the Himalayas, and he pretended to be some esoteric jibber jabber seeker. Oh, come on now. Give me a break, dude. Aha. No, that's not it. These are all my articles over here. The czar. What is that article? See, that's why it's difficult, because when I do these analyses, I start remembering all the different connections. So these are all my articles. So we do need to find this, because this is a really relevant article for what we're talking about. There's more articles here than that. I know none of y'all are going to remember what I'm talking about, will you? The czar sent somebody into undercover to spy. It was like during the original Great Game. And from the SVR archives, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, a fascinating story of early 20th century Great Game, told you, between Imperial Russia and the British Empire, the geopolitical advantage of the mysterious mountain kingdom of Tibet. So really, this was a spy mission and had nothing to do with going to meet Dalai Lama and jibber jabber and meditate, find inner boomer godness. No, none of that. It was just a spy thing, dude. So here is that excellent article. Go read that. Again, fascinating information. But back to Dr. Spence's article, where he ties together theosophy and espionage. And he mentions Blavatsky. We might have talked about this when I interviewed him, but that was, again, it was like 2016, so I don't even remember what we talked about. I know we talked about Crowley originally doing provocateur work for British intelligence, and then later asset work. So he goes into explaining Blavatsky's views opposed by the Black Lodge. So that's some straight up David Lynch stuff right there. I don't like Madame Blavatsky. She's got a Black Lodge. No, wait, I'm sorry. Blavatsky would be against the Black Lodge. So that's probably like Crowley or something. Anyway, she was also a fraud, too, by the way. A lot of these people are fraudsters. That's why you can't really believe them. As it turns out, Blavatsky's ascended masters weren't entirely fictional. Invented names and disguises were her co-founder, like Charles Sotheron, was a master. Other Italian nationalist revolutionary, Giuseppe Mazzini. The masters also included Indian nationalists and members of the revolutionary secret sect, the Carbonari. Theosophy was to be a stepping stone to the brotherhood of humanity in a new world order based on enlightened spiritual principles. Nothing democratic about it. It was a secret inner core of human masters. Annie Besant, Fabian socialist. Now, Besant, who we're going to be, we didn't go into, but we mentioned her earlier. She was a communist. Winston Churchill's spymaster Desmond Morton later concluded that nearly all these theosophists were in some way connected to Bolshevism, Indian revolutionaries, and other unpleasant activities. Crowley, as a secret servant of the crown, despised Besant. He damned her as a shameless, nauseating fraud, and at worst, a member of the Black Brotherhood. Theosophy and Soviet intelligence. Russian artist and explorer Nicholas Roerich was also a notable theosophist connected to and collaborated with Soviet intelligence. Like many educated Russians, Roerich had fled his homeland during the chaos and revolution of the Civil War, but by the 1920s he was itching to return. Roerich, through his medium wife Helena, claimed to be in communication with Master Morya and the Mahatmas, and they saw a convergence between communism and theosophy. Fascinating. Both aspired to create a new world order based on brotherhood. Roerich became a Soviet agent of influence. This gets into the missions to Tibet, which Mark's Soviet or SVR essay deals with. But this was like 100 years ago, right? So this is like early 1900s. This one is 1920s. So he was gathering intelligence for the Soviets in the 20s. And this is why a lot of the Bolsheviks had interest in theosophy, which is interesting. But it was Henry Wallace was the communist vice president to FDR, if you remember, or no, excuse me, Secretary of Agriculture. But he is who convinced FDR to put the all-seeing eye on the seal. And that was because Henry Wallace was devoted to Nicholas Roerich. So that's why the all-seeing eye is on the dollar, is because literal satanic Bolsheviks influenced FDR. But I thought he would get into the possibility of Madame Blavatsky as a British spy. Let's anyway, I think the theory was from what's his name? Webster Tarpley. And I'm not going to recommend Webster Tarpley, but he did have an interesting argument that perhaps Madame Blavatsky was a British intelligence asset, which is very plausible, but I don't know. Anyway, so back to Alice Bailey. So Bailey then, after her young evangelical phase, starts getting into theosophy. She starts reading Madame Blavatsky. She gets all into this. And then, this is bizarre, she quickly rose to a position of influence in the American section of the Dyer Society, and they moved their headquarters to Hollywood. Once again, Hollywood, Hollywood cult connection. We know a little bit about that. The Dyer Society is, I guess, another term for theosophy, one of their splinters or whatever. So Alice Bailey goes on then to be involved in theosophy. Then we get the Lucis Trust in 22. It was originally Lucifer Publishing, as we saw. And then this is where you get the United Nations connection, right? Support the action, love in action, world goodwill, right? Which is supposed to be really just kind of like communism and we're recycling a bunch of shitty, sticky clothes, man, because like, Mother Earth or whatever. Which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with recycling clothes if you want to do that, giving to the poor, sure. But this is all done under the Great Invocation. They also have this philosophy of energies, which has nothing to do with Maximus Confessor or the Orthodox Church, so don't get confused with that. But they have the philosophy of the 7 rays of light. So, again, it's Luciferian because it's the light bringer, the light worker, light working. For these people, goes back to the 7 rays, and it's Roy G. Biv, baby. I'm invoking that Roy G. Biv, right? And they think there's some kind of like mystical significance to the color spectrum. And this is just something that they ripped off of Hindu mystical thought. Anyway, so then you see that she's got a smorgasbord buffet style collection of esoteric healing, blah, 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 blah. The idea is that there is a God who is a monad. So here we have Neoplatonic stuff. And then we are sort of like emanations of God. So it's a sort of a pantheistic type of thing. The monad is God, but the monad is also the true self, right? So God is monad, but your true self is also God. And your soul is said to be your higher mind or your love nature or your higher consciousness. But remember, is that the true self? Okay, well, now we're just back to pantheism. But then you also have these other components or faculties, your lower mind, your reasoning faculty of your intellect, emotions, which she calls astral nature, and then your physical and your spiritual body. Okay, so you've got all these different parts making you up. And I don't think we need to go really deep into her whole system, but basically it's just a smorgasbord of a bunch of world religions smushed together. And she's not the first to do that either. If you remember, guys, Crowley did that too. If you remember, Crowley went and climbed like Tibetan mountains and whatnot, meditated on mountains. He was a huge mountain climber. And he said one of his goals was to bring back to the West all of the mystical philosophy of the East. And so Crowley's system is actually an attempt to also bridge Eastern occultism with Western alchemical tradition. That's what Crowley said. To kind of make Western alchemy and Kabbalah blend with Far Eastern mysticism and Tibetan stuff. That's why Crowley put such a big stress on yoga, right? Crowley had books on yoga. All these people have books on yoga. And if you're wondering why yoga is so popular in the West, it's because of these people. Okay? It's not because, Sadhguru convinced everybody to start stretching or harnessing their serpent power in their spine. It's because Crowley got into that stuff a long time ago and also said we need to bring this to the West, right? We need to import this to the West. And I'm not kidding. This is why the Beatles were instrumental in this, because they were tripping acid with Maharishi. Booger wishes is mysteries. There's a specific frequency that only the booger whistle can hit, and it invokes the deities on the celestial plane, right? When you hit it just right. Nose flute, right? Created at specific mystical times, the booger whistle, which many of the gurus have. And now get this. A lot of people don't know this. I'm pretty sure it's this picture. Now, there's one picture. This is them supposedly in India, right? So it's not this one, but this one is when I think Maharishi Mahesh Yogi came back. I have read, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it was one of these pictures where they were dropping acid, I think, with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in one of the Rothschild mansions. I think that's right. This is the ashram that they visited in India. But I'm pretty sure that the story is that when Maharishi came to the UK, they were chilling in like one of those, I think it's the one that's in Batman. You know what I'm talking about? Have y'all heard this? Mintmore? Isn't it Mintmore? That's Bruce Wayne's house. So I'm pretty sure it's that one, right? Anyway, if I'm wrong about that, you guys can, correct me or whatever. But somewhere I read many years ago that they were dropping acid in one of those with the Maharishi. Every time I think of Maharishi, I think of that scene from Temple of Doom. It's like, His Imperial Majesty Zalim Singh of Panko Palace. But my suspicion then about the origins again, because remember, a lot of this comes out of British imperial thought. And why would that be? Well, the importation of Hinduism would presumably come out of the fact that, because that's the origin of the New Age, right? Why all this Hindu stuff? Well, who had India as a colony? The British. And when they had India as a colony, the British elite became fascinated with the culture of India, right? And what is Indian culture built on? Caste system. Ancient evolutionary philosophy. Yes, evolution is an ancient Hindu idea. Oh, and who gave the world the Darwinian philosophy and system? Oh, the British Empire. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the mythos of the Victorian British imperial story. It's the narrative. And so it's not accidental that the mystical experiences that the Beatles and the Tavistock Institute and whatnot coming out of the research and writings of Aldous Huxley, right? Because Huxley was a big promoter of LSD, right? As part of the counterculture in the UK, even before people like Tim Leary were. And so there is some coordinated psychological warfare motivation, I think, on the part of British intelligence and research and social engineering and imperial planning to export this philosophy as well as getting Rockefeller support, right? So you have both seaboards, the Atlanticist elites, the wealthy families, really putting money behind all of this New Age and occult stuff, 100%. And it ties into their espionage and intelligence networks. And as Dr. Richard Spence theorizes, it's entirely possible that MKUltra could have come out of Crowley's drug diaries. Because remember, Crowley's writing his drug diaries and recording the experiences and the effects of the drugs on various people way before Huxley was talking about any of that. So presumably then Huxley and people in those circles would have known of and would have read Crowley. British intelligence definitely would have been reading Crowley because they utilized Crowley in different operations, right? And so Dr. Spence has a theory that it's possible that Crowley's drug diaries could have also had an impact or a influence or could have even been an early version of MKUltra. So as you can see, here these are, and so let's see when he would have written that. So yeah, see, this would have been 1922. So he publishes his, and that would have been, let's see, when did Huxley first publish Perennial Philosophy, for example? Is published in, oh, that's 1944. I don't forget when Doors of Perception is. Let's see when Doors of Perception is published. Oh, that's even later. 54. That's way late. So actually, Perennial Philosophy is way before Doors of Perception. I wonder what his earliest drug-related book would be. Let's see if we can find his published works. I want his published works. I don't want his awards. Bibliography. Anyway. So this is saying he didn't try LSD until the 50s. So that would mean Crowley actually predates Huxley. Okay, so at least in the 40s, 30s. Okay. By the way, this might be who I'm thinking of. No, this just says he had a connection to the Vedanta Society in California and Swami Prabhavananda. Now, keep in mind, this is all connected to Esalen Institute and exported first to California, right? So Huxley and all this stuff, which this is all elite British establishment social engineering, it's all vomited out into California, right? And that's how it spills over into the rest of the U.S. for social engineering purposes. Because if you remember, we covered in my book, Esoteric Hollywood 2, in the U.S., the first people to really start tripping acid, they were not hippies. And it wasn't. See, Cary Grant was tripping acid in the 50s. So was JFK, I think, early on. I forget what it. And then with Owsley Stanley, and then you get Tim Leary and Haight-Ashbury, right? So it's not actually this main line. Oh, yeah, man, we all just kind of like, everybody was just hanging out in Haight-Ashbury, man. And like, we just thought like, hey, Ken Kesey, man, and let's just like try some acid to free your mind, man. And no, that's not right. That's the dumb boomer narrative that everybody believes. That's not how it went, dude. Cary Grant was tripping balls in the 50s, dude. Did you know that? That's public. That's all public stuff, by the way. That's not conspiracy theories. Anyway. So now that we have all this in mind, let's get over who I didn't remember the name of the guy that it's not this guy. It's another Swami that comes up in the World's Fair in the 1800s. Anyway, I forget that guy's name. So let's get over to this. So here we go. In the 1940s, in one of her famous books, now she got a bunch, but Alice Bailey says, and remember, she's the one who coins the term Aquarian Age, New Age. By the way, also the term New Age comes out of the Scottish Rite magazine. And there's an article that it's kind of buried now. You have to dig it up. But the old 1890s, 1900s, right around in there, there's a Scottish Rite magazine which quotes Blavatsky about how the New Age will come. And it's in the Scottish Rite Journal, where it's either her essay or they're interviewing her. And she says, yes, I'm quite confident that public schooling, for example, will be one of the ways in which the kingdom of the New Age and the brotherhood of man is ushered in. Okay, that's another famous quote from Madame Blavatsky in the Scottish Rite Journal. It's one of the earliest uses of the phrase, quote, New Age. But here in the 1940s, we look at this is from her book. I'll go to the title in a minute after we do the 10 points, but this is Alice Bailey's book on the 10 points. 10 points to change the world and bring in a world religion. Keep that in mind. So people are saying, there ain't no plan for a world religion. You dumb conspiracy theorists. You dumb. Really? How about the UN promoted global occultist witch woman, Alice Bailey, giving us a 10-point plan? Would that be enough to help you believe in this? Or would you still think I'm a conspiracy theorist? Let's see what Alice says. She says, so she's talking about the Great White Lodge. That's the supposed good guys, right, of the ascended masters who are giving her messages, the Jwal Kul. In order to clarify this group work, so she's going to say we're all going to have to work together in the great plan, right? This is the great work for her. The hierarchy, she's talking about the spiritual hierarchy of the ascended masters. Plans and enable you to grasp their intent clearly. I will tell you something of the purpose which lies behind the groups and the general plan which is destined that they fit in. Now, again, this is the UN's official kind of religious philosophy, right? The early stages of any hierarchical experiment, much difficulty is encountered owing to the material with which the initiating agents, such as myself, so the people who are initiating the world into this new religion, are the clairvoyant witch women like herself, channeling crazy rich Asians like the Jwal Kul. Any new ideas, especially if it embodies a purpose which can only materialize later when the plan is further perfected, fails naturally to meet with the comprehensions in its early stages. So she's just basically saying, we're so advanced, we're so spiritually advanced that like most people aren't even going to understand what we're doing, dude. Bro, like, have you undergone an ego death? Because like, I'm so much more ego dead than you. Like, when my ego died, like, I became so humble or whatever that like I'm probably the best at being humble in the whole universe or whatever. That's how all these people act, right? By the way, this is ushering in a new series we're doing this week and maybe next week. We're going to have Tristan on, probably have Jamie on, and I got a special guest that y'all probably do not yet know. Rachel from Dyer in Psychology will be stepping over. We're going to be doing an interview because she has done several videos as a licensed therapist, dealing with cults. And so she's been putting out videos on Ann Hamilton Byrne, a cult that I did not know much about. She did a video that was really good on Mother God, another cult woman, a guru I didn't know about. So she's been talking about gurus, and we're going to be talking about gurus. Now, as you guys know, we've covered cults endlessly in the last 5-10 years. Of course, we never get tired of covering cults. There's always more. And there is overlap, but there's a little bit of a distinction between the cult and the guru, right? There's overlap, yes, but cults can kind of be like everywhere, right? You can have cults are more like a religion, and the guru is like, oh, I follow that dude, right? Because he's like God or whatever. He's the ascended master. So we're gonna be talking to Rachel. We're gonna be talking to Tristan. And Tristan just did a big stream on Sadhguru, right? So now I don't know a whole lot about Sadhguru, but Tristan's who told me about Sadhguru years ago. Tristan told me about Nature Boy years ago. If you don't know about Nature Boy, you're in for a treat, right? So we're going to look at this up and coming young man, Bentino Massaro. He's an up and comer, right? He's trying to be a guru. We're going to talk about Teal Swan, and yes, I watched all 4 parts of her Hulu thing. So we're going to be talking to both Tristan and Rachel about Teal Swan. We're going to be talking about some of the old classics like Osho and Holy Hell. We're going to be talking about one of my personal favorites of all the crazy cult leaders, Father Yod, because he's a character. And so we got to talk about gurus, because we talked about cults, but we have not talked a lot about gurus. Anyways, let's get back to, that's coming up this week and next week. Let's get into 10 points. This is important, right? 10 points. And I have to give a shout out to Greg Reese, because I talked to Greg Reese the other day. Very cool dude. Greg Reese reminded me of this. He was looking for some sources for a video he was doing on Alice Bailey's 10 points. And he reminded me of this, so I'm going to have to give credit to Greg Reese for bringing this back up. And if Greg Reese makes a video on this, of course, I will share that too. But shout out to Greg Reese for reminding me of this, because I'd forgotten that she had this 10-point thing. She said mental powers and telepathy. And so these telepathic communicators that are coming, they're going to be more receptive to the impressions coming to the human race from the ascended masters. And they will be able to telepathically speak to each other. They're the custodians of group purpose and therefore closely related to all the other groups. Their work is largely on the mental plane. And they work with thought matter and with the reception and direction of thought currents. They are there whereby speech can be transcended, become known, the ways of intercourse be brought about. Communication will eventually be soul to soul. Okay, so she's convinced, this quack, that we're going to evolve to have mental telepathic communications. Okay, she's talking about in the near future, by the way. All right. And these are the first number one group that will be bringing in her new age, Aquarian age. So we're going to be sending brain emails to each other, right? Brain texts. They'll be sending mind-to-mind messages on the lower mental plane. This will involve the complete integration of the personality of the lower self so that the mind and the brain are at one. Disciples must remember that these two distinctive contacts, and bear in mind that this is a greater contact that need not necessarily include the lesser. Telepathic communication between the different aspects of human being is entirely possible at varying stages of unfoldment. Now, somebody might say, oh, she was predicting the future, dude. She was predicting Neuralink. She's predicting metaverse. I don't think that's what she's talking about. There's nothing about this that, she's not talking about technology. She's literally thinking that humans are about to evolve to just think thoughts into other people's heads. So let's not give this kook woman too much credit here. Another group is trained observers. So who's this? This is point number 2. Their objective is to see clearly through all events and through space and time by the use of intuition. They work very largely on the astral plane. So we got to have a lot of astral projection up in the house, a lot of astral plane work, the dissipation of glamour, thus bringing in illumination to mankind. Now, keep in mind, there's always a bunch of jibber jabber in here. Thus, another type of energy is brought into play, producing another type of interrelation and communication. This communication is between the plane, which is the plane of illumination, and pure reason, the Buddhic plane, and the plane of illusion and glamour, which is the astral plane. The trained observers are asked to remember their great task and to dispel the world illusion through the pouring in of light. When there are sufficient number of groups, working on these lines, there will be found upon the physical plane certain channels of communication which will act as the mediators between the world of light and the world of illusion. So basically, we just got to get a bunch of goofy New Agers meditating, right? Bringing this stuff in. There's a rainbow around the moon. And if you chant that dumb drum circle song long enough, you will bring the light into this plane of existence. They will be the transmitters of that energy, which will break the existing glamours and illusions and dissipate the ancient deceptive thought forms. They will release the light and the peace, which will illumine the astral plane and dispel the illusory nature of its life. So a bunch of jibber jabber. Didn't get much out of that one. Alice and her 10-point plan. Sound like you're just saying basically everybody needs to just sit around and meditate. More drum circles, bro. More drum circle. The third group, right? Point 3. The magnetic healers. These healers have no relation to the work of the so-called magnetic healers of today. This is the real magnetic healers, right? Not them low-grade rock boys. but the real magnetic healer. What's a real one? They work intelligently with vital forces in the etheric body. Much of their work is dealt with in the 4th volume, A Treatise on the 7 Rays. This group of healers must bring about the right healing of the personalities of individuals in all respects. Of their nature, the work is done is that of an intelligent transmission of energy to various parts of nature, the mental, the emotional, the physical, through all the right organization and circulation of force. Present-day healers would endeavor to break loose from the modern and traditional ideas so as to healing. Okay, so we got to have new energy healers. Note this last point. The group idea must always be remembered by the students as they work. You are not working as an individual, but as units in a whole. Okay, so first thing, most important thing for her right here is you're not an individual. You gotta meld into the group mind, right? And we'll constantly see that the collectivist thing is usually what's going on here, right? Getting away from the idea that you exist as an individual and only as a member of the group mind. And notice here she is very early on. Look at this. Way before the 1960s, what does she say? This will diminish the New Age methods from the past for the work of the group work and for a group. This will distinguish the New Age. So the New Age will be characterized by lots and lots of goofy healers running around, but healers working on the real astral plane, right? Or on the etheric plane. Number 4, who are the educators? The educators of the New Age will come next after the healers, the magnetic healers. Their service is along the line of culture. Oh, culture change, she's talking about culture creation and engineering back in the 40s. They will want to bring in this new type of education. Their emphasis will be on building the antakarana and upon the use of the mind and meditation. This will be a new educational science and will be given in the 5th volume of this series. They will act as communicators and transmitters of 2 aspects of the divine energy, knowledge, and wisdom. These must be thought of in terms of energy. Now, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with the orthodox doctrine of the energies. This 4th group, whose work is concerned with education of the masses, is directly intermediary between the higher and the lower mind. They are concerned with the building of the antakarana, and their task is that of linking the 3 points of mental focus, higher mind, the soul, and lower mind, so that there may be established a group of antakara between the kingdom of souls and the world of men. Okay, so again, just a bunch of metaphysical jibber jabber. Who knows where she's getting this? Politics. Point number 5. The 5th group. These are the groups working in her 10-point group plan to bring in the new age of Aquarius. Political organizers. They will concern themselves with political factors in every nation. Well, now you see why she's promoted by the UN. It's exactly what the United Nations does. They will work in the world of human government, dealing with the problems of civilization and with relationships existing between nations. Okay, so now we have an international order here to bring about international understanding. This group communicates the quality of imposition, an authority that is lacking in the other branches of this divine group activity. This work is largely a first ray work, right? The 7 rays of Lucifer. Remember this? So that's what she means by the rays. It will embody the method whereby the divine will works out the consciousness of the races and the nations. So she's saying that the divine will is her new age ritual working. That's what she means by the divine will. Because remember, this is a pantheistic philosophy. Because you are, your higher self is the monad, is God, you see. Now, she says this work is their work is to act as channels of the communication between the Department of Manu, the Department of Manu, and the race of men. It is a noble task to be channels for the will of God. I mean, the Department of Manu? That sounds like some damn stupid ass Robin Williams shit. Manu, right? That's some damn 70s cocaine level humor right there. I mean, what the heck is even this? What the heck is even this? What the heck is even this? Manu is the most important being of the ascended masters. So each, quote, root race has a Manu. Okay, yeah, whatever. Whatever, Annie. Sure. I mean, Alice. Now, here's an important one, point 6. Are you watching? Paying attention? The workers in the field of religion. Their work, this is where we start to notice, oh, this is actually subversion. Their work is to formulate the universal platform of the new world religion. Oh, wait a minute. I thought there was no plan to bring in a new world religion. Oh, but the woman promoted by the UN and their publishing house says right here that it's time to create a new world religion, which is her jibber jabber. It is a work of loving synthesis and will emphasize the unity and the fellowship of spirit. Okay, what spirit? I mean, spirit could be a lot of things. Are we talking about ghosts? Are we talking about Casper? Are we talking about Satan? What spirit are we talking about? This group, of course, here we go. The internet cuts out, so I'm going to wait. Hey, Jamie? Jamie? You yelling for Jamie while I'm live streaming. Let's see. The religion. So this is one of the most important parts. This group, in a pronounced sense, is the channel for the activity of the second ray of love wisdom, that of the world teacher, an office held at present by the Christ. But she's saying that there's going to be a new world teacher, right? Oh, well, when we enter into the age of Aquarius, right, Jesus will kind of like, step aside and we'll get the new world teacher. And it'll be a new world religion. See, the platform. 7th group, scientific servers, the scientisms. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Science is going to be a part of this plot for a new world order. Wait a minute. What? They will reveal the essential spirituality of all the scientific work, motivated by the love of humanity. Oh, yeah, sure. That's what science is all about. I mean, you realize that this is all a bunch of con artistry BS, right? I mean, yeah, it's ultimately demonic, but I mean, Satan is the great con man. And I mean, who actually believes that the scientists are working for benevolence and the love of humanity? You mean the scientists who want to kill most of the human beings? Is that the one, the same? Those are the same ones that love humanity? Oh no, you see that when they elevate science, she says it brings the light of God into creation. No, I'm pretty sure the scientists are not interested in doing that at all. So no idea where you got this idea here, Alice. But that's how she's propagandizing. Oh, science will be, working for the good of the New World religion. Number 8, psychologists, right? So she's got like a total society plan here, right? For everybody to be on board with her goofy thing. They will form the next group, and they will be concerned with the revelation of the fact the soul and the new psychology will be based on the 7 rays. So basically everything needs to be based on her 7 ray bullshit, right? They will act as illuminators between the groups, blah, 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 blah. 9th group, money. Get that money, dog. Make it rain to bring in them 7 rays. They will work with the energies and forces of money, supply and demand. But, it will reconcile with sharing. Aw. See, if we just had a little more communism. If we just had a little more communism, bro. If we could just take communism and mix it with capitalism, everything would be sweet. It'd be a dang utopia, bro. Because then we could combine having junk with sharing junk, dude. Oh, yes. Why can we never think of that before? The principle of sharing will govern Oh, so in other words, communism. So socialism will govern the new age. What do you know? All them hippies. Yeah, man, we need to live in a commune, man. You know, if we just lived in a commune and we didn't have private property, then we could like share wives and stuff, man. You know, that's something that you know, my friends and I dreamt up when we were over in Nam, man. You know, we decided we need to live in a commune, man. And you know, like, by the way, is your wife dating anybody right now, or like what? Like, what are you guys up to? Like, could she like you know, come over here to my cot or whatever? You know, is Boomer Garcia, you know? Exactly, right. Number 10, creative workers. She gets into her goofy metaphysics, and they're there to bring in, you know, this would be like, I guess, creative people, right? They're gonna bring in her new age as well. So there's her 10-point group plan of who will bring in the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarium. And next time, we will look at other gurus, right? We're going to get into Teal. Like I said, we're going to get into Teal Swan. We started with Alice Bailey because she is our United Nations official guruess, right? Because she got her info from the Jawal Kul, that handsome etheric spirit